and you use other you use different types of environments, sometimes face-to-face, sometimes online, sometimes physical, sometimes digital. It depends what you want to do. And it's having the skill to mix those, the tools, analog and digital, in the right way to achieve the desired effect. And that it's not about, I keep saying, it's not about this either-or thing that we're always getting stuck on. Is it better face-to-face or digital? It's irrelevant.
Sure.
And that requires...
Keep that thought. As it happens, we are already live, it seems.
Are we already going? It's just
so
the three of us.
Fool you. I guess I'll try some kind of introduction. But that is like the pre-show. Okay, pretty good pre-show, you know. We've been doing this like 15 minutes now, Astrid. No, I'm kidding. Like, I don't know, 10 seconds or 15.
That was the stretching.
Anyway, it was a good pre-show. But let's get into the main department. And what time is it? It's 1 minute past 4. Pretty much right, like on schedule here. So, hello, everyone. This is Be Smart and Ear, and this time mainly, perhaps, among other things, trends and traditions, or the other way around, traditions and trends, what's going on in education. Today we are streaming this thing live over the internet, YouTube, the works, and it is the last day of August, right? August 31. Perfect weather still at the North Pole. That is very northern Sweden. What else about this? Not much, I think. Let's just get cracking. And we are all three of us here. And if I got it right, Tina is trying, like being simultaneously in 2 virtual places, and that remains to be seen how it works out. She's got tons of simultaneous capacity, which I do not. So perhaps you're doing fine, Tina. What do you think?
No, I don't think this will work very well. I have, but here I am trying and saying hello to everybody, and as I promised to come, so I'm here. But maybe it's just. Yeah, I'll go and visit the other meeting in a minute. It's,
so the other thing is the eTwinning school collaboration stuff, or what?
Yes, it's the eTwinning ambassadors web meeting on WebEx, and it's about what we'll do this year. So it's planning the whole year, and there are quite a few changes and new things about eTwinning. The desktop will change completely, and so on.
This is good, especially since we are running next eTwinning on air on when? September 8th?
8th, right? Yeah, very
September
soon.
8th.
Time
so
flies.
You have all the latest information for that one. That's great. So when you gotta go, you go, and that's about it. Just,
I think I'll go now and I come back later if.
Good. I was about to say, don't care about us. Just leave us. Just go.
Okay. Bye.
No, are you going already?
Yeah.
For heaven's sake, we don't even know who you are, do we? You can say who you are before you leave.
Okay. All right. I'm Tina, and I'm from Finland. And I work for the Finnish National Board of Education. I'm doing with the Finnish curriculum reform at the moment. And this coming year, or the year that has started now, is very crucial about that, because we start to implement the new curricula on August 2016. So lots and lots of work for me.
Sounds good. I'm glad they keep you busy. And you go and tell them that you got something more important to do, and then you get back here. All right?
Okay. Yeah. See you.
See you around. That is kind of fun. Alistair, how you doing?
Okay, thanks. It's just the 2 of us. And,
it's just the very cool guys here.
Yeah, indeed. I think we may have other people dropping in on us, but it seems
we might have some folks popping in here.
Yeah.
We'll see. And I'll try to keep an eye on what's going on, like through some other channels. If there's someone shouting,
there
like,
might be a chat or something. Because I haven't managed to. The last time I think there was a few questions in the open chat, and I never managed to see that.
Thanks for reminding. I'll try to keep an eye on that. I should be able to do it in theory, but my simultaneous capacity being what it is, you know, I never make any promises. Let's see. I just open up. I have 2 computers here, and that's about the limit for me.
Yeah.
But I just open it up.
You've got an amazing hideout there that you appear in every time we meet, locked away in your little your secret headquarters there with a kettle over there. I can see and
the kettle. Yeah.
It's your survival bunker.
You have revealed my secret, Alistair. This is my survival bunker, and actually, there are some plans to wreck everything here. This is off the record. It's just you and me, right, Alistair, right now. There are some plans to wreck everything for me, since they are kind of rebuilding the whole school building here.
Okay.
And if things go really, you know, completely haywire, then they'll throw me out of here.
Well, you just have to. Well, I thought it was your underground headquarters, and you had, you know, you just have to build the right sort of office.
Yeah, if those plans will come into some kind of reality, that is not like 100%. That's far from certain. So then I'll build something underground. No, definitely underground. Now I'm like second floor.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. Alistair, who are you? What are you doing?
Yep. I work at Linnaeus University down in the southeast of Sweden, the other end from you.
Yeah.
You're up in the northeast, and I'm down in the southeast, and on the shores of the Baltic Sea.
I'm here in the best part of Sweden, and you are down there.
And it's raining here at the moment. So, I mean, it does feel definitely that.
That's what I'm telling you. We got
the last day of the summer is at its end. There may be some beautiful days coming up, but I think we've had the summer.
Yeah.
So, yep. I work with. I sort of monitor what's going on in the field of e-learning. I sort of all aspects of learning using technology interests me. I try to follow what's going on in the world, and do a lot of involved in an awful lot of projects like that. I'm not directly involved in schools at all, but I sometimes appear in sort of school activities, sometimes conferences and so on, but I'm not a great school expert, but I try my best.
I think you are pretty darn good school expert, and doing an amazing job of getting in touch with people like all over the world, pretty much, who work in education and putting everything together. That's
it's
really,
fun.
really cool.
What's nice about it is that you just see that, I mean, sometimes I'm working with adult education, sometimes at universities, sometimes at schools. But when you come down to it, we're all working with learning, and we're working with people, we're working with learning, and there's so much in common. And it's rather sad in a way that we build these artificial walls around our areas so that school people only ever meet school people and don't discuss with university people very often.
Agree.
Don't discuss much with adult education people. Yeah. But we're all involved with the same people, some older, some younger, but it's about learning and about people. And that's something that came out of the article that you sent us as required reading for this little session.
Let's see, which of them?
Well, the Will Richardson's.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we must get into that. A little dig deeper into that one. After a little bit, Will Richardson, he's like my guru. Will, if you're listening, thumbs up. And he's a pretty cool guy. He does quite a bit of writing, talks a lot to educators all over the world. He's been like a global, traveler, globetrotter for years, I think. And his writing I do like his writing, especially because, strangely enough, I understand most of it. He doesn't make things complicated if they don't need to get complicated. Does that make any sense? Mm. That's what I like about that. And of course, he's got his roots in the north, in Norway and in Sweden. And he even speaks Swedish. He doesn't write in Swedish, though his books are in English. That's kind of cool. We must get into that properly. Perhaps Tina even jumps in, and we can get her into the discussion about Will's latest book, which is not awfully thick at all. And even though it's not that thick, I've just got into the middle somewhere. I bought it as an ebook, by the way. We'll talk about that definitely. But
oh dear. Get rid of that. Oh, no.
Okay, that was a quick one.
Yeah.
Perhaps it was perhaps someone from China wanted to get into the Hangout or something. That would be a pity in that case. What was I thinking of? Yeah, trends and traditions, whatever way we want to play it, and on whatever level we want to play it, and in different ways. I mean, that might be about using technology. It might be about like the big broad strokes in education. Perhaps that's a little bit, like into the direction of Will's thoughts, or whatever. Actually, since you, Alistar, are into video conferencing a heck of a lot, right?
Mm, yeah.
I was like thinking that's kind of isn't that a kind of a shift or trend as well, that video conferencing is being used more and more and getting actually pretty darn good, even so that it can be used right out of the box, like in like schools where people necessarily are not professionals in that. What do you think?
Yeah, it's true, but it is remarkable how we've had the technology, we've had the opportunities for an awful long time. I mean, not just there's the standard video conferencing, which is very much point to point with dedicated equipment, and that's rather limiting. Though interestingly, despite all the Hangout possibilities and Skype and Adobe Connect and all these other things, nothing in terms of clearness. I mean, what we're looking at just now between you and me is excellent, but if you're talking about bigger meetings, a dedicated point-to-point line is actually still by far the best.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean,
but I mean, we've had the technology for quite a while, but it's amazing. This is a part we can relate to traditions. Somehow, having the technology, having the opportunity, doesn't mean to say that people are going to do it.
No way.
It's amazing. I worked for the Swedish telecom company for quite a long time, like 12 years. And I remember back in the 90s where they were giving the message to everybody that you can work from home, you can work from anywhere you like. Mm-hmm. And the idea of distance working and telecommuting started coming up. And there were all sorts of ideas that in the future, you won't need to do that daily commute, sitting in a car and getting stuck in the traffic for an hour and a half every morning. And that we would work from sort of local centers where we would sit with our neighbors who would all have different jobs, and we use telecommunications to be able to get our work done.
Never get out of your house.
Did that happen? Nope.
I guess not.
Not at all. Actually, still today, organizations are incredibly reluctant to give workers the right to work from home. It's still very controversial, and we are still stuck in this tradition that if you're sitting in the office, doesn't matter what you're actually doing there, but if you're at your desk and somebody can walk past your room and say, "There he is, he's working." But if he's not there, you know what he's good. Who knows what he's up to? And we, do you not think
you know what he's up to? You know darn well what he's up to.
Yes, we still haven't got out of that really. And there's a lot of I think there's a lot of organizations that have almost gone backwards in terms of this.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people who are working who are out there working on the road or wherever they are using the technology. But I think we're still very much stuck in the office and, 8 till 5 or whatever your working hours are. And it's still not completely accepted. And that relates in a way to the same sort of thing. We're talking about school and attendance and being in the classroom. And if you're not in the classroom, if the kids are out doing projects, everyone says, ha ha, I know what that means. They're just sitting back doing nothing. You have to have them in the room to see what they're doing. Do you not think there's a little bit of that as well? That we still haven't got that... we have the opportunity, we have the technology, but it's somehow the attitudes aren't there.
Absolutely. And talking about learning, it's exactly the way you put it. When you are in the classroom with your students, then the students are doing some heavy-duty learning. If the students are out there somewhere, regardless of what they're doing, and kind of regardless of the instructions they're being given and the guidance, learning, so.
Yeah, and we've got them in the added danger of they're using their mobiles, and so okay, where are they today? Well, they're out on a field trip, and they've been told to gather information, and they're going to do it on their mobiles. And again, some people will automatically think, oh yeah, they're sitting in a cafe somewhere playing Candy Crush Saga or something like that. I think there's a lot about trust and tradition, and we are we're a bit stuck in it, and we can't quite escape, and we've tried and tried over the years, but somehow, I don't see the queues of cars going in and out of, say, Stockholm or any other city you can name. They don't seem to have decreased in the last 15 years, despite the technology. We've got, we can use these things, and we can have video meetings, we can be so effective, but we still have that daily trek into the workplace, the school,
it is interesting.
We're stuck.
Yeah, a bit. I hope we're not stuck for good, though.
No, but I think people underestimate the power of tradition.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's so, and attitudes and so on. And this idea, and as we've talked about a million times, the power of the symbol of the classroom. That's where learning, as you said, the rose, the blackboard, the teacher at the front, that image, that symbol is so strong in everybody's heads that we have great difficulty coping with it. Say an open school, the idea of schools without classrooms, where the learning takes place and the kids are given responsibility. It's a lovely idea, but very, very few people are brave enough to try it.
Even though we all know that most of the learning, young people, and perhaps even old people, most of the learning they do, it's not in traditional classrooms, it's somewhere else.
I'm sure you can think of other examples, but if we're talking trends and traditions, that's what I always wanted to raise, the fact that we simply can't escape. The gravitational pull of tradition is so strong.
It is.
And also it's backed up often by structures.
Absolutely.
Tradition. I mean, take the university of the world. I mean, everyone, I think, a lot of people talk about how we need to move over to a flipped classroom approach, that lecturing is not the most effective way of teaching. But if your administration and your timesheets and everything that governs your work says that you're assigned X number of lecture hours, and you're assigned to do them in a theater with seats like a cinema, and a lectern at the front and a big screen for your PowerPoints, you lecture. What else do you do?
Sure.
And
sure.
so it just keeps going because
it's
they want me
easy.
to do lectures, so I'll do lectures. And
yeah. The administration is easy. It's like the learning, or perhaps the lack of learning takes place somehow according to what is easy for the administration part. That's what I feel sometimes.
Yeah. The same thing with, for example, creating open learning, open educational resources. We're so used to having textbooks that we can't sort of do without them. And even if we know that we could actually write them ourselves, distribute them for nothing, and cooperate around them and update them regularly and make them very relevant and exactly the way we like it, we somehow don't do it, apart from some enthusiasts. I mean, there are people doing these wonderful things, but most people, it's like, I'll just stick with the textbook.
Sure.
I'll stick with the course book. That's the safest.
Yeah, that's the safest. That's the safest.
And also a lack of confidence in your own ability. I think people think, oh, well, the people who wrote the textbook are much cleverer than me, therefore.
Yeah, right. But sure, I recognize that definitely. It is safe. Sticking to the textbook is safe, and sometimes for different reasons, you go that route, or kind of often even. For my part, I definitely use textbooks depending a little bit on what I'm doing with my students. But I try to not just use textbooks. And talking about myself and my own situation, since I'm teaching mainly Swedish and English, teaching Swedish, it's somehow you can, I don't know, I feel really free doing that in here in Sweden. You got the goals, of course, and that's where you should be heading with your students. They are like fixed, and that's the way it should be, I guess. But the way there, it's up to the teacher. It's up to me to figure out together with my students, of course. And there's so much you can do, and there are so many ways of getting all that relevant stuff into the curriculum. So it's really cool, and I rarely need to find the reason to go to textbooks. Every now and then, definitely, but absolutely not all the time. But when I'm teaching English, it's a lot easier to just, take the safe route and work a lot more with the textbooks. It's strange. I don't know why.
It's also to do with the expectations of the learners.
Oh yeah, and the learners' parents, perhaps.
Yeah, the learners' parents, because it can be very dangerous, as I've discovered way back in the past. If you have a textbook and everyone goes to the trouble of, or everyone's given it, they expect to go through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you only look at the textbook once every 2 weeks,
what is this guy doing?
Yeah, some of them are going to say, wait a minute, you gave us this textbook and I've been looking at it and you're not even talking about it, and you've missed out 20 exercises in the last week or so, and now you've jumped on to chapter 5. Why haven't we done chapter 2 and 3 and 4?
Never heard that one, huh?
Yeah, and you can get actually pretty bad evaluations from them, saying that you're not a good teacher because you can't stick to the textbook.
Yeah.
Even more so if the learners are adults and they've actually bought the things.
Oh yeah, you're right about that. Never thought about that.
I remember way back a long time ago, in my youthful enthusiasm as a teacher, I was so keen to sort of get away from the textbook and do all sorts of imaginative, communicative exercises. And I had a group of adult learners, and they had all bought this textbook, which it wasn't needed.
Poor souls.
But the textbook was attached to the course, and I was expected to go through it. But I was being so progressive that I wasn't using it much. And I got complaints. One time they said, look, we want to sort something out with you, and I was a little worried, and they said, look, we've all bought this textbook, and the last 3 lessons you haven't even opened it. We want value for money, you know, you use the blasted textbook because we've just paid for it. And I was forced to, yes, I could see they had a very good point there. And I tried then to follow it much more, though it wasn't challenging me enough. You know, I wanted to do more fun, but that is the danger. It's like, and the same thing. We've got students at the university. We have teachers doing flipped classroom approach and so on, and they're not lecturing. And then the students fill in their evaluations and say, this was a lousy teacher. He didn't even lecture to us.
Yeah.
He sent us links to other people's lectures. I mean,
what the heck?
He just sat there saying, what do you think? And how do you feel about that? And so, you know, they didn't get the facilitation and that role of the teacher as a mentor and facilitator and the guide on the side. They expected and had been brought up to meet the sage on the stage. And that's what they wanted, and they didn't get it, and they were very uneasy. So in a way, it's maybe if you're going to jump away from that sort of structure, you have to tell them in advance and explain it very well. Otherwise, you can cause unnecessary confusion. You can understand them.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm always telling my students before we get started. And this is a good thing to get reminded of that, since I got a bunch of students just getting started with them in English and Swedish. And I will definitely tell them that this is the deal. We are not going to do everything by the book, not by the textbook at least. So yeah, you're right about that one for sure.
And I think, but at the same time, we have to realize that people have different preferences, and there are people who actually really enjoy the old-fashioned way, and we shouldn't throw it out simply because it's the tradition, because it's very, I think there's an awful tendency amongst those of us who are ed tech enthusiasts to sort of see everything digital as good and everything old and traditional as bad. And there's far too much sort of, get rid of the lecture, get rid of classrooms, get rid of textbooks. And I've said it myself, but I think I'm beginning to think now, no, don't get rid of a good thing if you've got it.
Absolutely.
Just use it wisely.
Absolutely. And when you want to get, do something else with your students than just go by the book. So definitely it's more demanding for the teacher too, since you really got to know what you're doing. Otherwise it'll be chaos, of course. You got to know what you're doing, and I think you end up working quite a bit more, I'd say, at least during the first 15-20 years. But at least for my part, it's a lot more fun, and you are more flexible, of course.
Yeah, I think it is an awful lot more work, and it is a bit more chaotic because you're juggling with an awful lot of different,
Right.
You've got an awful lot of different objects in the air, and they've all got to be coordinated, and there's got to be a plan. You can't just throw things up and they smash on the floor. You've got to keep everything going.
Yeah.
It demands a lot of the teacher to work like that, and it is much easier to stick with the textbook or just lecture every Monday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's much easier.
Yeah, you got your thing. You've been doing this perhaps for, like I said, 10 years, whatever. You know exactly what to do. You almost know your lecture by heart, I guess. You can just, go through it. You don't need to prepare anything. And then you just go home. You're done, and you perhaps hand out the same worksheets you've been handing out, like for 10 years or whatever. And well, yeah, sure.
Yeah. But as a language teacher, well, I was one once as well. But as a language teacher, there's one aspect, one traditional aspect that I'm not sure really can really go away, and that is the fact that language learning does require an awful lot of rather boring repetition.
Absolutely.
And no amount of digital toys and tools and fun games and so on is really going to get away from the fact that if you want to learn language, you're just going to have to learn those blasted irregular verbs.
That's it.
And you've got to learn those awful adjectives and adverbs. You don't maybe don't need to know the grammar terminology all the time, but you've got to bang it into your head that the past ending for this verb is
it takes some hard work. However, there are ways of, I think, today, ways of making it a little bit more fun, even kind of fun, I think, all this gamification stuff. And I guess that's a little bit like a trend, isn't it?
Oh yes.
There are ways of changing those tasks that you got to do over and over, so that perhaps you don't feel all the time that it's a major pain in the butt.
Yeah, that's true. But in the end, I mean, if you think of, for example, I'll take another area like music. I mean, playing scales on the piano or the violin, again, you've just got to do them again.
You just got to do it. Some things you just have to do if you
until it drives you around, until you can do it with your eyes shut and you're asleep. And that and the same, I think, with a lot of maths and chemistry and physics.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
You've got to memorize. They've got to be in here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. Yeah. What do you think about we often talk about what's the point of learning things by heart when you can just Google it?
Yep.
I'm not. I don't like that. I think that's a bit dangerous to say it like that.
But wait a sec. If you Google stuff, you don't necessarily learn anything.
No. But at the same time, people say, "Oh, we don't need to teach facts anymore. We don't need to teach the dates of battles. We don't need to teach."
Well, to a certain limit, I agree. To a certain limit, I agree.
I think in some fields, you've actually got to you've still got to memorize a lot.
Sure.
If you're a doctor and the patient's sitting with you and you say, "I have no idea what's wrong with you, just wait a minute," that doesn't give the doctor's expected to know.
I think I wouldn't like.
They've got to be automatic. It's got to be.
I wouldn't like my surgeon, start Googling what the proper procedure is while the person is cutting me open or something.
Yes.
I don't think I would like that.
He just says, "Just hold on a second." I'll just check it.
Give me just a couple of minutes. I just got to Google this.
Filling.
Christ. Yeah, I mean that's a fact.
So I mean I think we can't take away that you've got to, learning is fun. It's creative. It's all these things. But let's not forget the learning is going to be blood, sweat, and tears as well. And you're going to have to bang your head against the wall. You're going to have days where it drives mad.
Especially if you are aiming at mastery.
Oh, absolutely. And
there's no other way if you're aiming at mastery, I think.
Yeah, I'm worried that there's a bit of a trend, especially through all of the reality shows on TV and so on, that gives you the idea that, if you just have some expert with you, in 4 or 5 weeks training, you can be doing great ballroom dancing or singing or whatever, it doesn't work like that. Maybe you can fake it to some extent in some fields, but let's face it. I saw one where there were celebrities training to be concert conductors, symphony orchestra conductors.
I've heard about that. I didn't see it, but I've heard about it.
Come on. It's sort of, you don't learn to do that just in 5-6 weeks. It's going to take you all your life, and most people would never manage it. So that I think there's a little bit of a danger that we think you can do anything.
Absolutely, absolutely. But of course, if you really put your heart and mind into that, you can do amazing things in a month or two.
Yes, but only one or two people can reach the top.
Sure. I mean, you hardly reach mastery in a month or two, you know, become a musician or whatever, or something like that. No way you can do that.
So, Tina's back.
Whoa!
So, what do you think about all that, Tina? Yes.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Are you with us? Are you with us, or are you virtually somewhere else?
No, I'm with you, but of course I have no clue what you've been talking about.
Our discussion took a slightly different turn than I thought, which is most often the case, and I guess that's why it's so much fun. We were talking about, you know, like teachers' point of view, using textbooks or going the unknown route, you know, like finding your own way with your students, using other materials, and the pros and cons of both a little bit. Kind of interesting.
Yeah. In Finland, just during the last week, I think there's been on Facebook and everywhere in social media, and even in the old-fashioned, good old Helsingin Sanomat and other media have been, and Suomen Kuvalehti and so on. The old media has been very interested in a upper secondary teacher, math teacher called
something.
It's called something, yeah, and he's been teaching. In a very very interesting way, so that the students can independently, you know, study and make study groups in the classroom, and the quick ones can go further, and the teacher can give assistance and help to the slower ones. Of course, in the upper secondary school, general school, there are not, the weakest ones don't go there, so the students are relatively on a good standard, but this goes also for those who don't read the so-called long maths. So
the advanced maths.
Yeah, but the shorter courses, and it goes so far that they also assess their own learning. The teacher, he doesn't give any tests at all. But it's all about self-assessment and talks with the teacher, and they're assessing how they advance in their studies and so on. So it's and it's been very successful.
I'm telling you, that teacher is going down in flames pretty soon.
Well, he's been doing it for 2 years. I don't know.
Okay.
But of course now he's
someone must Google his name. Someone must Google his name really quickly now.
Yeah, he's traveling around Finland, explaining the way he does it. But
it's like lecturing about.
He doesn't lecture at all. No, he doesn't.
I mean, is he lecturing to other teachers, telling them
about
what the deal is?
Yeah.
It must be somehow technology driven. Otherwise, he couldn't do that, huh? The way he works.
I don't think so. It's more like it's based on peer.
Peer learning somehow?
Peer learning, so helping each other and the advanced helping the slower ones, and a lot about discussions, learning discussions. So when they work, they are sort of in a way they're working independently, and they can choose the way they learn best. So
sure.
I can remember, because I took the advanced
a little bit about this learning styles thing.
Yeah, so when I took the advanced learning advanced math courses, for me it was like I couldn't understand what the teacher said at all, and I couldn't understand the exercises before. I just, I read it in the books and studied the books and the theory behind the thing, and so that I understood it, the theory and what it was all about, and then I just could solve the problems and use the math calculus or whatever there was. But it and this, he said, but this is different to different people. So you can either just start solving the problems and discuss that praxis with the others, or whatever. But it's really quite interesting when he says that that when they discuss this together, they sort of formulate the problems or put them into words, and that helps your thinking also. So when you put things into words. And so
of
on.
Course,
so
maths is about language as much as anything else, I guess. It's
and problem solving, But that's I think it's very interesting, because that's something very few teachers would dare to do, because we're so much used to tests, and the parents are used to tests, so they say if you don't have tests, you're not actually teaching anyone, or you are not doing your job.
We were just talking about that stuff a little bit, like the safe route and the unknown way, the new ways, and those new ways are rarely any good, according to quite a few people, I think.
It's interesting how a lot of the most imaginative and innovative teaching practices are coming from the field of mathematics. I don't mean anything bad, but I mean normally people associate that with very strict old, doing exercises and stuff.
That's true.
But if you think worldwide, you think of Salman Khan, who can Khan Academy, which
absolutely
massive, and it came out of just doing YouTube films on math equations. And then in Sweden we have a guy, Daniel Barker, I'm sure you know, he's in Stockholm as a high school teacher of maths, and he's become a sort of superhero of the flipped classroom movement in
of course I recognize the name. Never had the honor of meeting him.
He does also, he's sort of been, just as in Tina's example, he's been taken up by the media very much as a sort of innovative teacher, and look at what this guy's doing, and he doesn't teach traditionally anymore, and everything's recorded. He records demonstrations and experiments with his mobile and so on. So I mean, and there's many more like there's examples of that, I think, everywhere.
By the way, talking about traditions and trends, one thing that definitely belongs into this department is what you were just talking about, Alistair. I mean, like Khan Academy, for example, using all that stuff, you can apparently do quite a bit of learning on your own, and that's kind of a trend as well, isn't it? That learning is even though there are these huge obstacles we were talking about earlier, Alistair, and you mentioned the incredible like power of tradition that can be kind of hard and keep people to the old ways. So these initiatives are popping up that you can learn like at your own pace more freely, and perhaps not being enrolled anywhere.
Yeah, if you know how.
If you know how.
That's the big problem. 95% do not know how. And the people who are sort of digitally, who have the right digital skills and the right study skills and so on, are able to help themselves to this wonderful opportunities.
Yeah,
but the vast majority have no idea that this exists. And
absolutely.
An online course? How do I study an online course? I don't understand.
What's that? That's something with computers. I can't do that.
Believe me, that's where most people are.
Oh, sure, sure. You're right about that.
Imagine
You're right about that.
an online course, or how you study if you're not sitting in the classroom. So that the sort of illusion of learning that you get from sitting at a desk and listening to people is very strong, and it's hard to break.
It is. By the way, kind of a segue from flipped learning to the stuff we said we'd dig a bit deeper in, and that being the latest book by my guru Will Richardson, the well-known U.S. educator. By the way, he's a language teacher from the beginning. Woohoo! One more thing, one more plus there. Will has been doing quite a bit of writing. I don't know, at least half a dozen books, but not, like thick as a brick kind of books. Most of them, or at least in that case, I don't know them. I haven't read them in that case. I have checked some of his stuff, and they are mostly, I'd say, like reasonably easy reads. Like I said earlier, he doesn't make things unnecessarily complicated. That's the way I see it, at least. And his latest book, it's called, let's see, from what was the one again? From Master Teacher to Master Learner, I think. Hope I got that one right. Well, if I didn't, sorry. Anyway, so I bought it. As a ebook. It was pretty cheap, so even though I don't make much money, so I wasn't ruined by that. And I'm roughly halfway now, and it's kind of interesting since we're into flipped learning, and in earlier episodes we've been talking quite a bit about like 21st century learning, and almost every time we touch base on collaboration, collaborative learning, whatever, and he goes something like this. There are so many ways of learning that perhaps we're kind of forgetting, the real deal. And all of us, especially, well, pretty much all of us, know what the real deal is. Recognize this very essence of learning, and when we can learn at best, what is needed for us to learn best? Well, stuff that's kind of almost ridiculous to put in print or talk about, but I mean, like motivation. Well, if you got motivation, I guess you have a good chance to learn something, right? Even do that really hard stuff you were into earlier, style, just sitting and repeating whatever exercise you need to do in order to get mastery of whatever you're learning. And then he's got this, even though he says that almost half joking that perhaps we should get away from all these different ways of learning, he's got one of his own, of course, and he kind of laughs at that or smiles at that himself a bit. But he talks about modern learning, and what he means by that, it's something like he says that in the old, back in the day, the stuff has been, and still is, I guess, very much teacher organized, teacher centered, and there's tons of it, tons of stuff in the curriculum to cram into students' heads. So we just, like we educators, skim the surface, and everything is done, by teacher doing the stuff he or she has been doing all the time, lecturing, going, droning on. And what he'd like to see is the transformation. What he means is the real deal, like the real transformation to student-centered learning, where the students get a real chance to organize the stuff, and where they have also the possibility to dig deep. And I think there's, perhaps it's somehow very obvious, but at least I got some interesting ideas about that. Not the least about my own work, that should. I mean, do my students really get a chance to dig deep where they have the motivation, where they want to dig deep? Not necessarily that often that I'd like, I think. So, some soul searching here.
This morning I was reading comments on our new English language curriculum, learning curriculum from the grades 3 to 9, and most of the comments were about too much ICT integration. Teachers are not ICT teachers; they are language teachers. So there's too much ICT integration.
What do they mean by ICT integration?
Because I can't explain what
they become administrators, IT administrators somehow. What?
No. So it is English curriculum, the English language curriculum from grades 3 to 9.
Okay.
And they comment on the curriculum we've written, that there is too much ICT integration.
There's too much ICT in there.
Yeah. So it shouldn't be about ICT. It should be about English language.
Yeah, it should be about learning.
Yeah. So they detest ICT integration. That's very typical, isn't it?
So information technology is bad.
Yes, that's bad.
It's axiomatic.
It shouldn't be integrated into anything else, but perhaps, but at least not in language learning. They wanted all authentic words, authentic learning, authentic environments, authentic way, because that's too much. They want simulated things like they're always been, not authentic environments or authentic texts or anything like that. And what else was there? All the contents that were student sort of initiative. So if the students wrote there that the part of the content is always coming from the students, so they can suggest the topics and the themes which we study and the topic areas, and they said no time for that. We have so much to do without the students
messing things up.
Messing things up. That let's just keep it
students
in the teacher's hands. So it's like the things that are new, the things that are a little bit a change of the old, they're the ones they just won't accept. So that's the attitude. That you can just drag the old curriculum to the new one, and they'd be very happy. And if you
copy and paste and call it new.
And whatever you suggest sort of changes, it's like, very nice, but we don't have a time for this. Not that.
I mean, who's surprised?
It's not about the contents; it's about the way.
Sure.
Way you learn.
Who's surprised? Change is always bad. I mean, that's the way. That's the way for me.
What Alistair said, just.
It's true for everyone, more or less, isn't it? I mean, if you are used to doing something, and perhaps you're even pretty darn good at it, and then someone comes and says, "Hey, you'd better change your ways a little bit now." How would you feel? I would feel like crap.
Oh, I'd feel very happy to get new ideas.
Yeah, but isn't there like a tug of war going on in education? Because on the one hand, you've got the innovators, the people who are wanting to re-examine the pedagogy, how to make use of the digital element and so on, like we normally talk about and many others do. You've got them pulling in one direction towards a much more collaborative and freer, a new approach to learning. At the same time, you've got everybody else, because education is something everyone has experienced it.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's a pro.
Yeah, everyone's a pro suddenly. I went to school for X number of years, therefore I know all about teaching and education. So everyone's got a view on it, whereas people don't have the same view on brain surgery or whatever, and will accept the experts' opinions. You've even got teachers who've got the attitudes of, I've been teaching like this for 25 years, and it's worked so far, and the students love it. So why should I change?
The students might love it.
Yeah, and very often the students can be often the ones who are pulling in the other direction. They,
absolutely.
They like, just let's, I want to sit back, open my mouth, and just be fed. Please give me the facts. Let me get over this. Let me get out of here with a right bit of paper, and I'll say goodbye. And with as little effort as possible, so that we have and also on top of that, you've got politicians who are trying to make political capital out of the latest PISA results and various other league tables and efficiency studies of schools. The schools, of course, all want to go up the league table and look as if they are good schools because they're all passing their exams correctly. And it's pulling the place up, it's pulling education apart because the two are going in completely opposite directions. Politicians are saying we need more standardized tests so that we can go up the league tables in the world and look as if we're very good at education. Educators are saying that doesn't work. And there's a lot of friction there, probably more than ever before.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder, talking about PISA and other evaluations like that, if they are positive force or just the opposite, especially if the effect is even more increased standardized testing, which is madness. I don't really get it. I don't get it.
Votes. And the parents like it because that's what we had when we were in school, and it hasn't done me any harm, has it?
Yeah, and then like in the States, in some places, if I got it right, the students' results in standardized tests are correlated to the effect directly the teachers' wages.
Yeah.
So how do you like that?
Yeah,
well, I think that's pure madness.
In a world which worships the company as the ultimate way of organizing anything, everything has to be organized as a company. Therefore, it has to be analyzed in terms of productivity, efficiency, and return on investment.
Right.
What we've done is we've created a return on investment calculation on education in terms of if my class all pass the exam, I must be a good teacher. And we have a good school.
Right. I guess that's partly the if you'd like the curse of information technology, if you don't use it properly, that there is so much data, and it's so easy to get even more data. And if you got lots of data, for heaven's sake, you'd better use it. And what do you use it to? You make reports, and those reports are read by whom? Often by no one. So, I mean, I don't know. There must be a better way. What is the better way?
Well, I think
we've been going on with this stuff like an hour now, and heaven's sake, we must figure this thing out now.
What's the
Where are we heading? Where are we heading? Trends, positive trends. We got to nail some positive trends before we wrap this thing up.
I think there is a lot. I mean, I think there are a lot of initiatives in every country. I think it's there are lots of committed educators out there everywhere doing great jobs and doing things to change and learning, but it needs to become mainstream. They also need much more encouragement. They need politicians who believe in them and who can see through this, I think, rather easy financial analysis model that the sort of payment by results and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think there are positive signs. There's lots of good stuff, but it's not being sort of channeled. I think it's at the top that we need to get more understanding of what's going on.
Absolutely.
And I think political propaganda, especially populist parties, are extremely dangerous to this.
Sure. And the school leaders, I think, at least here in Sweden, I feel that good school leaders, they must, their voices must be stronger, and they must have a stronger mandate somehow, whatever that means. Because those guys, they can see to it that their teachers can do some pretty cool stuff as well. And hey, is it Kim popping in here?
Yeah.
Hey, Kim, you just barely made it. Luckily, we haven't wrapped this thing up yet.
Yes. You have 1 minute, Kim, to sum up the discussion.
Excellent.
Well, you
What do you think, Kim? Kim, what do you think? He's going out.
these crazy folks from southern Sweden. No offense, so Kim, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. Actually, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to anything.
Not at all. I've been busy. I was earlier today. I was in a 2-hour webinar educating Google Apps admins.
Whoa, cool. Very nice.
12 and 2.
Here's someone doing some
real
good stuff
work
with information technology, real work using information technology. So it can be a positive force, information technology.
Yes.
Very good. Since we were like coming up with some pretty gloomy scenarios here.
Yeah.
It seems
I actually had like 7 participants.
Is that good or bad?
Compared to Be Smart on Air, I don't know.
Okay, so I would like to promote a book for everybody.
Absolutely.
This is a Finnish book called Hello Ruby, and it's also
is
available.
It written by you?
No, it's it's also available in English. It was first written in English and it was translated into Finnish, though the writer is Finnish, Linda Liukas. And it's the world's best coding book, yes, for children.
I've heard about that. About that.
And it is sort of a fairy tale, and it's not about real coding languages, but it's about thinking, sort of algorithms and programming, the way of things following each other and being result of each other and so on.
What is the fancy expression? Computational thinking or something like that?
Yeah, right. And some exercises for little children even before. So preschool age or sort of a lower primary, and a very nice book. So just change the way of thinking, that it's not always very sort of serious or boring, or even writing these strange marks or signs, or but it's very sort of understandable and interesting and challenging for children.
Pretty cool. It seems pretty unique.
So this is something I bought. We're gonna put this in the curriculum, in our school's curriculum.
I think that author has received quite a bit of attention in other countries as well.
Yeah, she's
been world.
She's been doing coding workshops for women, and only for girls and women, and the ones that are very inexperienced, and all around the world, from Singapore to everywhere. They've been full now.
I'd just like to.
Yeah, Alistair, go ahead.
One thing before I leave, talking about traditions and dangerous traditions. The word that you said there earlier, Tina, boring. What we need, and what's happening at the moment, is we need more people to get rid of these stupid traditions that certain subjects or certain things are labeled as boring. Who started this? Why do we continue it? Why is mathematics, the minute you mention it, and you mention, you hear on radio, TV, somebody mentions maths and they come up with some cheap comment about, I was no good at maths, it's too boring, etc. For heaven's sake, let's get out of that stupid prejudice.
But I think the mathematics, though I was I studied the advanced maths, but I think maths has a lot to blame themselves. They can look in the mirror because it's so disconnected from real world.
Yeah.
And I think mathematics should be connected in a very sort of strong way. It's completely reformed the attitude.
It can be an art
so
form.
that it's sort of you look and go around anywhere and you see maths and you see and problems that can be solved and so on. So I think maths boring because it's been so disconnected of
but I think there are many teachers, more and more teachers, and more women for that part, doing really cool stuff in the maths department, and I think that's something that is needed. We need more cool ladies.
And digital, also digital games and things like that.
Absolutely, sure.
Changing.
Sure thing. Okay, I guess you guys will be.
Time to go.
Alistair is going. Can you just plug something, Alistair? Where do we find you on the net or something like that before you go? Where do people find you on the net?
Oh, me.
Just you. Just Google you. Alistair Creelman. There's just one.
The only one. The only one I know, actually.
The only one.
I've never found anyone else.
All right, there you go.
I'm pretty well I'm the only one out there as far as I know. But if I find another one,
good enough.
A life quest for me to find.
Great. Kim, since you've been so active this time, so go ahead, plug something. Where can we find you? Where do people find you on the net?
Well, you find me on Google+, and I added my address in my lower third here. So google.com/+Kim Nilsson. That's it.
All right. There might be one or two people called the same, but you know.
Yeah, but not on that. That Earl goes straight to me.
Yeah, right. Very good. Very good. And Tina, of course, what's the best way of finding you?
Well, you can Google me. So you get my profile, because I'm the only one. Finnish names are very rare, and this one is especially rare. So I think.
So is mine, by the way.
My last name is. I think there are about.
Good.
We're all related.
Do you think, Tina, that people can Bing you?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I can't.
Why just Google, for heaven's sake?
Sure,
try Bing.
No, please don't.
It'll work just as well.
I've heard Bing is
I feel used.
No kidding. Strange. What's wrong with Microsoft anyway? Don't we all love Microsoft, for heaven's sake?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think their search engine is pretty darn good. Might be just as good. I don't know.
I just thought I could say that I'm just like Tigger and Winnie the Pooh. The wonderful thing about Tiggers is I'm the only one.
Yeah.
Well, folks,
with that,
on that bombshell, we are pretty much done, I think. Thank you so much. What an interesting discussion. Heaven's sake, lots of interesting stuff here. We could have got deeper into Will's thoughts about empowering students even more and going even deeper into the whatever it is you are learning. But I guess we'll do that another time.
Another time.
Thanks a lot, everyone. It's been a blast, as always.
Bye-bye.
Take good care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.